Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 20 of the Wrestling Hypothesis podcast, here for your Saturday, May 30th, 2020. Hope you're all doing well, of course. I am the ABA. Joining me, as always, is Richard.
Hello, everyone.
Ricardo.
Morning, y'all.
And King Kenny.
What's up? What's up?
Yep, and as you guys could see, Tara is not with us at the moment, but hopefully she will join us a little later on. As you guys know, business as usual, this podcast is available to listen to on various different podcast platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, Radio Public, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Give us a subscribe over on our YouTube channel to make sure that you are kept up to date for any bonus content coming your way. If you're listening via Apple Podcasts, please be sure to give us a star rating as well as some thoughts on what you think of the show. You can like our official page over on Facebook to keep up with the latest updates on the podcast, as well as leaving us a review on there. And lastly, if you haven't done so already, you can check out episodes 1 through 19 using any of the aforementioned platforms, as well as visiting our website, anchor.fm/wrestling-hypothesis. And for those who missed it, we posted our AEW Double or Nothing review this past Sunday exclusively on our YouTube channel, where we went over all the results and our initial implications coming out of the event. And we dove in on some topics as well, such as what MJF's ceiling in pro wrestling can be and all that good stuff. So if you want to hear our thoughts on that, you can check out the video exclusively on our YouTube channel. We're going to start the show off here with some miscellaneous news that we've heard break ground over this past week. First things first, it was heavily speculated early on Monday afternoon, hours before Monday Night Raw went on the air this week, that WWE has decided to have audiences once again on their programming, consisting of NXT and Performance Center talent. And sure enough, we did see such things on Raw later on in the night. And listen, you can shit on WWE for taking AEW's idea for having the wrestlers and their talent play the role of an audience all you want. Who fucking cares? They absolutely needed to do something like this while this pandemic is still ongoing and social distancing is a must in order to not continue having their shows die a slow, painful death with no energy.
You can say that again, and you can say it again and again and again and again 1,000 times, and it still wouldn't be enough.
Exactly.
Seriously, like who? You're right. Who gives a damn? Who gives a shit?
I saw some people shit on that idea of all plagiarism on social media. It's ridiculous.
Look, it is, and you know what, man? Like you said, it's about damn time. And my thing is, why the hell didn't they do this sooner? You know,
there you go.
Like, if you were gonna steal their idea, don't wait 5 or 6 months after. You know, steal it right then and there.
I guarantee WrestleMania would have benefited big time from doing something like this.
Tremendously, man. But they wanted to do things their way, and their way is always shit anyway. So, but that's all I have to say about it, man. Nothing more.
Yeah, it's pretty much like it's too little too late based on bringing in the fans to elevate their product, since it was a form of plagiarism of what AEW did before. Pretty much it could have made WrestleMania better and possibly all the shows like Raw, SmackDown, and NXT much better, but it was too little too late based on bringing in fans in. And you know what's crazy? They thought they could do a good job by bringing in fans to insinuate the moment of when Apollo Crews became the new United States champion. I'm like, nigga, really? That was your best option? I was like, they already failed in multiple aspects, so I think they're not gonna do as much better as they did before. It's gonna stay the same. That's all I gotta say.
I pretty much got nothing else to say because you guys pretty much said everything. Like, too little, too late. Having the Performance Center recruiters be as their audience, like, it's pretty much like kind of too late for that, because the main reason why Vince decided to do that was because he didn't want to copy AEW, but we knew that you wanted to, just you couldn't admit it. But it is what it is. But like, yeah, like I pretty much got nothing else to say for this, honestly.
Let's think. I mean, let's really dial in on something very important here. It still ain't gonna be better than AEW.
Oh,
like
no question.
It's one thing. It's one thing to have fans or or performers in the audience, and have them feed off what's going on in the ring. But it's an entirely different thing to have people that are actually invested in the story. And that's what AEW does, man. They have a good grasp on what's happening in each of their stories. Like how do you get performers to give a shit about what goes on if the animosity, like the biggest animosity between two people inside the ring is that one interfered in the other's match? You get what I mean? Like how do you care about something like that? You know what I'm like? There are levels to this. Whereas in AEW, two people, guess what? They have 3, 4, 5, 6 a year build of animosity between them. That's why you give a shit about what happens on AEW, because the story is there. But the biggest story right now is that one person is salty over the other person's title win. What?
And that is basically the premise of a months-long build of a feud.
Exactly. And to me, that's just, that's why it's not going to be better than AEW, because they really don't care. Like these people in the crowd in the performance center, they're not going to give a shit. They don't care.
Yeah,
right. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, my bad.
Ricardo.
They stopped caring because they have to continue to do the same generic shit that they've been doing for years. They don't bring something new to the table in terms of the storyline to grab the viewer's attention. While for AEW, we all know that they always grab something new out of their asses. Every other pay-per-view, no matter, like, the pay-per-view was just done last week, and we already got new shit coming in. Like that. It's been consistently done no matter who it is. So that's what AEW's been doing consistently ever since the brand started. It's been working, and they've been kicking WWE's ass for weeks. So.
Right. AEW does have a lot to prove, even at this stage, a year on since their inception. They have a lot more to prove than WWE ever does, especially since coming off their complacency since WCW died out almost 20 years ago. They feel like they have nothing to prove. They didn't have any competition for most of those 20 years. Like, you had the alternatives here and there, like TNA and Ring of Honor, emerge in the mid to late 2000s and became something of an alternative to the wrestling viewers out there who wanted something more than just entertainment, so to speak. They wanted great storytelling. They wanted great wrestling. They wanted the whole 9 yards with the wrestling promotion. And now AEW is coming to the fold. They still, a year on, they still have a lot to prove, but they're doing a damn good job of it so far. Now, but I got to touch on this. Was their execution of this perfect first week in? Not at all. I'm not going to lie. At times, the reactions that we did get from the talent in the audience, not just on Raw, but also NXT and SmackDown last night, they did kind of feel manufactured and forced, in the sense that, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, because there's a sample size. You know what I mean? Like, there's a sample size. It's done. It's already been done. Like, if there was 1,000 ladder matches in previous years, and then you have one this year, that ladder match will be compared to the 1,000 previous matches, right? Like, that's the natural order of things when you have, a significant thing that's been done before that. So, yeah, there's a sample size, and the sample size is not with them, it's with AEW, because that's their competition. So we're going to measure them by the AEW standards and what they have been doing since the pandemic has arisen. So yeah, it's definitely gonna hurt them a lot. It's gonna do some good because they finally got somebody in the crowd that can feed off that energy, but it's not gonna be as good, just like I alluded to earlier.
Yeah, right. I mean, if nothing else, despite all that, I would take having some form of reaction during these matches and in-ring segments than having no such thing any day of the week, period. But it can only this is the worst we'll see it, I'm sure. It's not going to get any worse from here, the overall atmosphere and the vibe of the crowd, of these crowds. So it can only get better from here. Practice makes perfect. If they continue on with this trend, en route to everything reopening and social distancing not being a thing anymore, That's a huge plus. That would be a huge plus for them and their overall product and our enjoyment of that product. Okay, so let's talk about Nia Jax. So this woman is back at it again as news came out of this past Tuesday's tapings for Monday Night Raw that will be airing next week, that during this Nia Jax Kairi Sane match that was taped on that show, that Kairi got badly cut open in her head after getting whipped in the ring steps. We're not exactly sure if that is the full extent of the injury, and we haven't heard anything about her suffering anything else with the woman like a concussion. The match continued on after an initial stoppage, with Kairi saying that she could still finish the match, and they did do so. Listen, we know pro wrestling, as well as other sports out there, are the main sources of freak accidents, and that anything can happen at any given time. And maybe this particular incident can't be solely blamed on Nia Jax, maybe. But that being said, her growing history of injuring others in the ring, as well as being reckless towards others in the ring, speaks for itself. Not to mention, this isn't even the first time that she possibly got reckless with Kairi Sane. As a few weeks ago on Raw, Nia just threw her into the turnbuckle at one point, head first, and like she wasn't another human being.
Yeah, man. I mean, what else is new? You know, she's not even back. You know, a full month, right? And has she been back a full month? I think she has, right?
She has been back since WrestleMania.
This
Right.
This week,
Okay.
yeah.
So she's been back for about a month now, and she's put somebody else on the show. You know, this is another notch on her mantle. You know, it's like she has this collection of superstars she's injured, and then she puts their heads on a mantle to commemorate her slaying or some sort of dominance over them. It's like you said, you know, anything goes, and it can happen in a wrestling ring. So maybe it's not entirely to blame on her, but when these things happen and there's a history of it happening, you kind of look at her sideways, man. You kind of look at it with you kind of squint your eyes a little bit, you know. You kind of just take a paper and just, you know, like just watch it from afar off, because it's that important. Like, you can't unsee that. You can't not point to her past transgressions, and not bring it up and not say she's somewhat a bit, maybe just a smidge unsafe. You know, like that's just what it all comes down to. You got to look at it and come to that conclusion at some point, because Kairi is not the first victim, and I can guarantee you she ain't going to be the last.
Yeah, Nia Jax, she's something else. But like, Nia Jax, like, I don't blame her that she did it intentionally, because like accidents happen in the ring all the time. So you can't really knock and say like, oh, it's Nia Jax's fault. I'm like, nah, this shit happens all the time, right? So like, Kairi Sane wanted to continue the match. I'm like, I'm giving credit to her because like she's been wrestling for years. So of course, like, she's already used to getting cut up or getting bumped or getting injured in the match. So like, to say that like possibly Nia Jax did it intentionally, I'm like, that's not fair to Nia Jax. But I would say that like, even though she has a history, so she needs to like, if I was her right now, she has a little bit of cause to pause, like, you know, just chill out a little bit. But other than that, like, we could all look at it in terms of her persona as a powerhouse in terms of the female division as like more of a plus than a negative, because even though I won't say she's intentionally injuring the stars, it does low-key raise her stock as her status as a powerhouse, as a female. It would have been different if it was a dude. If it was a dude, then all bets are off. I'm like, okay, it's working, whatever, AKA Brock Lesnar, whatever, right? But it's different because she's a woman. But like, for her next time, I'm like, you know what? Chill out, cause to pause, and then later on next week, just do better. Other than that, that's all pretty much what I got to say. But it is what it is.
Yeah, pretty much it is what it is. Like, just like what Abba said, it's not the first time that that Nia has done this to people. Kairi Sane with the head injury as well as the cut. They said how Nia Jax legitimately punched Becky in the face like a couple years back and stuff like that. I also saw this one angle. I don't know if you guys were watching Raw, but there was this one angle and when they were trying to do a superplex and then Nia was holding Charlotte, and then when she landed, Charlotte was holding all around her. Yes?
Yeah, I know. I saw that one too. I want to defend Nia Jax on that part. I blame Natalya because I saw that she tried to power bomb both Nia Jax and Charlotte Flair while Nia Jax was doing a suplex. Natalya knows better that that's two heavy people above her, right? So Nia Jax doesn't have the balance to execute the suplex effectively. Not only that, Charlotte is the tallest female in the roster. So all that weight that Natalya has above her, she's not able to handle it correctly. So I'm giving Nia Jax the benefit of the doubt on that aspect. So that's not on Nia Jax's fault. That's not her fault. That's Natalya's fault. She knows better.
Okay, but we all agree that when it comes to certain things, that she obviously has to be careful on how she handles the moves as well as how she handles the moves towards the people that she's using it with. Perfect example is Kairi. Because this will be the second time that Kairi has suffered an injury from her, stuff like that. So hopefully, when it hits backlash in a couple of weeks, most likely she will know better. Especially the fact that this is the first time in a very, very long time she's getting a championship match.
She would know better.
What do you mean she'll know better?
But no. This kind of thing doesn't. Yeah, she'll know better in 2 weeks. No, it doesn't. It would never go away. It would never go away. So
in
for
wrestling,
me,
it happens all the time.
Yep.
You can't stop that.
Rich, and just to add to their argument, what they're saying about that stance, WWE actually decided to make this very real concern part of her gimmick when that incident with Becky Lynch happened 2 years ago. You know, where she lays out wrestlers for real, as if, you know, that is why I'm going to keep watching pro wrestling, to see someone hurt their coworkers for real. No, if I wanted to see someone get hurt for real, I would watch MMA or some shit like that.
Exactly.
I don't watch pro wrestling so people can get legitimately hurt and laid out for good. Far from it.
Yeah, and then you have to understand, and the thing is, like, what based on the incidents that Richard brought up, like what Nia Jax, when he said that Nia Jax punched Becky in the face, I'm like, that shit happens. Do you know how much shit happens in NXT when it was like, remember that match between Gargano and Cole? They were super kicking the hell out of each other, literally, and they still got up. You're gonna say the same shit when Nia Jax punched Becky in the face? Say shit like, oh, she punched Becky in the face. So they've been doing this their whole lives. They're used to it. So all these intentional accidents is not all on Nia Jax. And to be honest with you, you could say low key, she's low key getting a bad rap based on stuff that not based on her intentions, but intentions that's accidentally happened, not based on to what she's doing. Like, for example, like Richard said that Nia Jax punched Becky in the face. People get super kicked in the face all the time, and at times it's a real kick, right? Brock Lesnar elbowed Randy Orton, right? But we didn't say anything about that, right? Like, these shits happen.
Hold up. Yes, we did. Yes, we did say something about that.
That was the big talking point of that match.
Right. So don't get it twisted. Whenever somebody's gotten legitimately hurt, we point that out.
But the thing is about that match, WWE actually booked that part.
Right, but it was booked. So that to us wasn't like, oh shit, like Brock was going out for blood. No, it wasn't like that. But I think Ricardo, I think your stance is a bit misguided. And I think you should hold Nia a little bit more responsible, man.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. You said they're all professionals, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If you're a professional, then you're supposed to do your fucking job
the right way.
Yep.
That's it. Yeah, you're
Like, who
relying
else is
on
gonna be?
professionalism.
No, my point is that like you can't prevent on something that
Right.
that might not happen. That happens in
Right.
sports all the time.
True,
You're
but you can
right.
also
You're right.
look
But-
at the track record of these individuals. If it happens once or twice every few years, like, and not as often, not like so close together at a given point, you're not going to be. It's not going to be looked at the same way as if it was happening as regularly as it does to Nia Jax.
Yep.
You're going to be questioning Nia Jax.
Do you? I'll give you the perfect example, and you can understand this in football, right?
Okay.
Football is such a pugilistic sport. You know, somebody hits you, you know, you can become paralyzed forever. You know, one bad hit, you can be done, right? And you remember a guy by the name of Vontaze Burfict?
Yes, I remember him.
Yeah, you remember him very well. And why do you remember him? Go ahead.
That hit was vicious.
Yeah, exactly. He takes your head off. And everything illegally, right? This man has done on the football field, right? And you can argue that now, from your stance, right? You can argue that, well, football, bam, bam, it's a bam, bam sport. You know, you come out swinging, you get hit, you get injured. It's part of the game, and you will be right. You'll be absolutely right on the money. But guess what? There are ways of doing things, right, that prevent you from getting fucking, you know,
legitimately injured
and injured for the rest of your life. There are ways to tackle, and just like there are ways to tackle in football, there are ways to do things on the pro wrestling level. You have to whatever you might say about what happens in the ring, you have to at the very least admit that. And that's what it comes down to with Nia Jax. You know, it's the not that anything can't happen in the ring. We acknowledge that, you know, some things can happen in the ring. You know, some things can happen that you don't have control over. But at the same token, man, she's built a reputation from being unsafe before the injury with Kairi Sane happened, right?
Okay.
She's built a reputation. Say what you will, but she has. So if she has, and that happens again, like how can you deny this string of events? How can you just say, oh, nah, it's just what happens in the ring, you know, this and this and that? No, you got to look at you have to start looking at it and saying, oh, okay, maybe they are onto something here, and that's what it comes down to.
Exactly. You're not going to be holding WWE accountable for placing her in these situations, you know, where that's her job, and that's the reason for why she's screwing up so badly in terms of hurting her coworkers. You're going to be holding her accountable. And last message I want to touch on regarding this topic: get Nia Jax the hell away from Kairi Sane, because she has been feeling it. I'm sure more than most by this point. The wrath of Nia Jax. Some other news here. We also were confirmed this week the news of Drew Gulak reaching an agreement with WWE to re-sign with the company. This was after Gulak's previous contract with them quietly expired back on May 16th, which we discussed last week. You know, I'm sure he would have thrived in any other wrestling promotion given the man's in-ring talents, as well as finally crafting a personality and a character during his tenure with WWE. So he was more of a well-rounded performer. He did gain a good amount of elements to his character, to his overall personality, in terms of just having one. Because before WWE, when he came on with them, he didn't have much of one. He was just a great in-ring worker, didn't take shit from no one, and that was all we knew about the guy. And the stuff with him and Daniel Bryan over on SmackDown, I have liked lately, so they most likely will resume that and not miss a beat.
Yeah, I mean, the only person I think this is bad for, is believe it or not, Drew Gulak. You know, because at some point we anticipate that, you know, his rise to the top will come, you know, crashing down. It's just that simple. And it doesn't take a rocket science to come to that conclusion. You know why? Because it's the WWE. It's just that simple. We've seen this time and time again. And like I said, the only person this sucks for is Drew Gulak. I mean, I'm sure he's cashing in. And I'm sure he you know, they gave him a big fat contract. But But yeah, I mean, and I'm certain that, he pretty much get a better shot at AEW or any other wrestling promotion than the WWE. But I mean, he's proven in the WWE. At some point, he's won a few titles here and there, at least maybe one that I can remember. And he has traction. So him signing with the company doesn't really surprise me one bit. So, but like I said, like they're gonna fuck up with them at some point anyway. So I don't give a shit.
No comment.
No comment.
All right. Yeah, not a whole lot really to discuss here. Gulak resigned. We pretty much expected that, considering the fact that coming out of the news of his contract expiring with WWE and he was a free agent, that he was already negotiating with them a new deal. So this really shouldn't come as a surprise one bit, I should say. Moving on here with AEW Dynamite from this past week. Overall, I thought this was a good show, and I felt it was a pretty good follow-through off of the Double or Nothing pay-per-view event last week. Show started off with the Young Bucks and Matt Hardy versus Private Party and Joey Janela in a six-man tag. This is actually the first match involving both Young Bucks and Private Party on Dynamite since the pandemic began, interestingly enough. There was a spot here during the match where Janela was sent over the barricade in front of the other wrestlers who they would have be the audience for these shows since no fans could be there, as we touched on earlier. Joey sidestepped a super kick attempt from Nia Jax and hit the blade of Butcher and the Blade, and the Butcher did not take this fondly, and he brought Nick over the barricade and started beating him down before Matt Jackson joined in to help Nick. They were fended off there. Matt Hardy nails a moonsault onto both Mark Quinn and Janela for a near fall. Finish was Matt Jackson with Isaiah Cassidy over on his shoulders, and Hardy hit the elbow drop onto Cassidy, and was followed by the Bang for Your Buck combo for the win. Hardy helped Mark Quinn get to the backstage, leaving Young Bucks in the ring by themselves. We see both Butcher and the Blade assault the two as retaliation for what they did earlier. Then, out of nowhere, we get a shot of a car being drove into the venue by none other than Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood. The Revolt has finally made their way to AEW. They come into the ring and made it seem like they were going to go at it with the Young Bucks at first, but they turned their attention soon enough to Butcher and the Blade and beat them down. They hit the old assisted pile driver onto the Butcher, a la the old Brainbusters tag team finish, who they are so always compared towards. They then hit the Butcher with their old Shatter Machine finish, which will most likely be changed now that they're in AEW, but we'll see. They have a standoff with Matt and Nick Jackson before walking off ringside. We all knew this was coming, that the former Dash and Dawson would sign with All Elite Wrestling, but it still did not make the segment any less awesome. If AEW did not solidify to every fan out there that they have the best tag team division in all of wrestling before this segment to you guys, they had to have sealed the deal after this one. The possibilities are endless with the match scenarios they have at their disposal. Chief among them, of course, being what they just teased at the end there. The Young Bucks against the Revolt.
There's no other team that we care to see sign with AEW more than the Revolt. Like I spoke about this months ago, and we had this discussion about a team that would not be named versus the chance of a team that would not
Tara
be
has
named.
something to say.
And the Revolt signing, and who was the better signing? That's number one. Well, we never disagreed on who the better signing, the better signing was. But I think we disagreed on how much they can make an impact on AEW. And as you can see, would you say that the Revolt have made a better impact, or better than any other team currently in free agent market? Yeah, absolutely. Because they're already stars. They already made stars, and they're hungry. Talent and hungriness makes you the best. I don't care what anyone says. If you have the talent and you're hungry, forget about it. There's no one that can compete on your level. And right now, I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that they can compete on any level with any other team. But I'd give them a run. I'd bet on them because this was gold. This was gold.
Platinum,
and it validates
platinum,
whatever you want. It validates everything that I've been saying for months about the Revolt. I couldn't be happy, man.
Yeah, this was fire. This was fire. When the Revolt came in, they looked like they acted as if they were the number one team in the world.
Yep.
Against the best
you know what?
team in the world.
And you know what? Can you argue that they don't, at the very least, belong in that conversation?
No question.
No, you can't.
No question. The way I love the way the Revolt came into AEW, like they owned the place, especially against the Young Bucks, who's arguably the best team in the world, and they beat down. Who are those two guys again that they beat down? The names? We call them randoms? Okay, I'll call them randoms since someone said anything.
I thought Richard was going to answer. No, it was Butcher and the Blade.
Butcher, exactly, randoms. Butcher and the Blade. Two random ass names just like that. They beat their asses. And my favorite part of the whole thing was when the Young Bucks were trying to give a handshake to the Revolt. The Revolt was like, nah, it ain't about like that. It ain't about this, right? They're trying to send a message to the whole AEW tag team in the locker room, saying like, there's a new squad in the game, and it's the Revolt. It was perfect. It was perfect. They own their stripes, and nobody is more hungry than the Revolt. I'm predicting that they will be tag team champions sooner than later. That's just me. I could be wrong, but it's just me. But, and most importantly, nobody wants to embarrass the WWE more than these guys. Well, besides Brody Lee. But, like, these guys, the way that they've been treated for years in the WWE, they want to get back to the WWE down their throats to let them know that you fucked up in this situation with us by not giving us our shine, by not giving us the right teams to work with in WWE, and not giving us the respect that they deserve. They're going to not dominate, but they're going to thrive in AEW. I can't wait to see this. And their first challengers is the Young Bucks. Oh, it's going to be hyped. There's going to be money in AEW.
Well, in terms of the Revolt, FTR, whatever you want to call them, whatever, because in AEW they call them FTR, which means fuck the rest, which is kind of badass at the same time. It's good. I'm very excited at the fact that they joined AEW. They're partnering with the Young Bucks. And plus, with the tag team division that AEW has, can you imagine what kind of matches we're going to see with them in them? Like, them against Private Party, them against Young Bucks, Jungle Express. Like, the list goes on. Best Friends. The list goes on and on and on. I do agree with Ricardo that I feel that they're going to win the tag team titles sooner or later. I see that 100%. You can make a legitimate argument. I'll say by all out, but they'll win the tag team titles in September.
But let me ask, do you think that Kenny Omega and Hangman will drop the titles to the Revolt?
I don't think so. Maybe to a different team.
You think it'll be like someone will win the belts from them, they'll have a transitional reign, and that's how they'll get the titles onto the Revolt?
Yeah, because, like, besides next week, because they're going to defend it next week, and Fyter Fest, like, because of what's going on, they haven't been on TV a lot together. But yes, I do agree. It's going to be also another thing I was going to say. I wonder what they're going to bring into AEW with their first interview that they're going to have with JR next week, because they're going to pretty much lay it all out on the line next week what they got to say.
You have an interview with JR next week?
On Wednesday at Dynamite.
Sit-down interview.
I didn't know that. Okay.
So whatever they got to say, all of us are going to be sit back, popcorn, drink on one hand, and enjoy the show.
Do you know what's the beauty of that sit-down interview, to be honest with you? You got the all-time greatest commentator in JR from WWE, along with the Revolt.
Mm-hmm.
The impact of that interview is going to be a big thing. It's going to be a big deal, right? They're going to lay out everything that they felt in WWE. Hell, I don't even care if they call out specific names in that interview.
That's what Jericho did.
That'll make it even more epic.
You know, the beauty of this thing is that they stood against the establishment. That's pretty much what it is. They refused to sign the 5-year deals that would make them slaves for the rest of their careers. Think about that for a minute.
Facts.
Jon Moxley, right? Mr. Brody Lee.
Yep.
And the Revolt.
Mm-hmm.
All declined 5-year deals with a lot of money to say, no, fuck this shit. I can be the best, and I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna prove it.
Right.
That's what separates the Revolt from any other free agent tag team that's currently out there.
No question.
Not everyone has that drive to be as good.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone can be good. Not everyone can be great. Not everyone can be the GOAT. Because it's called the GOAT for a reason. That title can only belong to one at a time until the next GOAT arrives, and then we give it to that person.
Mm-hmm.
So for me personally, it's a huge knock against the establishment. This is a huge win for the resistance, because this is what I call AEW, the resistance. The ones that have been, battling against the establishment for a really, really long time. Okay,
I agree with that.
That's a huge
big
win
deal
for the resistance, and it's a good win for professional wrestling.
And just to end this, I got you, Ava. Just to end this, the three, like Jon Moxley, Brody Lee, and the Revolt, two people in Brody Lee. Thank you. 2 people in Brody Lee and Jon Moxley, and a team as the Revolt was disgraced by the WWE. The way that they are, and they are huge, talented men. And based on what Kenny said, the resistance to prove their worth in another establishment. Stone Cold said it best. If you're gonna shit on me, don't expect to get it back from me from another place. He said that when WCW shitted on him, and he went to WWE, and look what happened. Became arguably the biggest star that WWE's ever had. Arguably.
Yeah.
Right?
The irony in that instance is that when he left WCW, because Eric Bischoff, when he released him, argued that Austin's not marketable.
Exactly.
And then he ended up becoming the biggest star the company's wrestling has ever seen.
Yep.
That's right.
And let me say this one, right? Gallows and Anderson have never looked more irrelevant.
Oh my God. We're all just lucky that Tara isn't here at the moment.
No, it would be so funny if Tara just pops up like right now.
And she was like, "Wait, say what?"
Yeah.
That would have been great. Oh man.
Please, I'll say it to her face, man. I don't care. I don't care. I ain't scared.
You have. You've done that already, man. But yeah, just to close it off there with this segment, possibilities are endless with the former Dash Dawson and their and what they're capable of in a different wrestling promotion with not as many shackles placed on them in AEW. So we'll see where it goes. After that, we had Brian Cage come out for a match, just a quick squash match here. Jon Moxley came out and joined the announce table for this match, seeing as how Cage is the #1 contender for Moxley's AEW World Title. And they will face off at Fyter Fest, which the date for is still unconfirmed to this point. As soon as Cage came into the ring, he beat down the schmuck. They fed him, tossed him around, finished the job with the old Steiner pile driver for the quick win. Post-match, Taz grabbed the mic and called out Moxley, hyping up Brian Cage as unstoppable, and wants John to bring that fight with him to Fyter Fest against Cage, who will destroy him regardless and take his title. I thought Taz did a great job building up Cage with that one promo. And the match between these two at that event will be pretty damn good.
That's one thing I wanted to say. I still feel the same way I felt last week. right, about Brian Cage getting a shot, right? But the match, it's gonna be great, right? Like Brian Cage is just as talented as Mr. Brody Lee, right? And if not even more talented, you know, in terms of in-ring work, possibly, right? Yeah, it's gonna be great. I cannot wait to see this match. But for me just being I'm a kind of guy that looks at what have you done lately, and does your position warrant you being? I mean, does your merit warrant you being in the position that you're currently in? I still don't believe that. Right, I still don't believe that's the case with Brian Cage. But man, this is gonna be a great match.
Yeah, I'm giving credit to Taz here because we all know how Taz was back in the day, in his prime, and how even as a commentator in WWE, right? Even as a commentator in WWE, he's done his thing, and him being Brian Cage's mouthpiece elevates the persona of the match entirely. It brings it to greater heights because he's hyping up the rivalry. He's hyping up the rivalry, so like he's doing this thing really, really well and making Brian Cage look like a prophet. So hopefully this match is going to be really good. I'm looking forward to this match. See what happens until then.
You okay, Rich? Kind of froze on us.
He's maybe having technical difficulties.
Yeah.
All right,
we're just gonna.
Oh shit! Yeah, he definitely lost connection there. But let's move on.
Yeah, we could just move on. After that, we had Britt Baker rolling out on the stage by another woman, and Tony Schiavone joined her in presenting the rules of being a role model with this long stick and a board. I guess a presentation she was offering us. Baker was a great, obnoxious self here, kept ragging on the woman to keep flipping the pages as she was told. One of the rules being that you don't hurt the role model, referring to herself, of course. Baker called out the spot last week when she got injured and tore her tibia, I believe it was, calling it a calculated attack that was planned months in advance by the other women in the match. She then called Chris Statlander and her alien gimmick bullshit, which was great. The board was flipped, and it shows a web of women in the division that were, according to Baker, in cahoots with one another to legitimately put out Britt Baker for in-ring action, even pointing to Aubrey Edwards. I don't know why people keep ragging on Aubrey. I don't know why. She's great. It's first Jericho, now Britt Baker. She then says that she will be back to in-ring competition at All Out, which will take place in September in a few months, before getting rolled out to end the segment. You know, like I said in our double or nothing review, and pretty much all of us gave her 2 cents on this. It's a big shame that the women's division in AEW lost out on Baker at this stage in the game, especially as she really started to come into her own character and brought something to the table.
Yeah, man. It definitely sucks to see her in that wheelchair, man. It was not pretty, and it hurt too, you know, because I was actually becoming a fan of her, and I still am. I just thought it was just a shitty way to you know end the year, really. I mean, because we all anticipate she's going to be out for a significant amount of time. But I don't remember, but did she specify how long she was going to be out?
She said she said a couple of months, but she did say when she was going to return. They said she's going to return at All Out. That's what she said.
And when is All Out? When do we all anticipate All Out?
September 5th.
In September.
September. Okay.
So about 3 months.
Okay. All right. So I mean, margin for error. I'm giving her 4 to 6 months. To be quite honest with you, I'm just gonna, you know, go out. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but at the same token, these injuries take a while, you know, and you gotta, you know, adjust for setbacks and everything like that. Hopefully that's not the case, but I wouldn't get my hopes up.
Yeah, nobody likes seeing a person in a wheelchair. Nobody. That was hard. That was tough to watch for Britt Baker because to be honest with you, she's the heart and soul of that division. That's the fact.
And she's not even a champion.
Exactly. She's not even a champion. She's the heart and soul of that roster, right? Similar to because based on what she's how she is, you can make a case She's the most complete wrestler in that division because she has the swag. Her wrestling game is getting better and better and stuff like that. She could cut promos. She knows how to carry herself and knows how to work with almost anybody on that female division in the AEW roster, right? So the fact that she's in a wheelchair and she's injured, and I agree with Kenny based on fractured tibia, just like what Richard said, because we watch a lot of sports, and a fractured tibia, that takes a minute. It doesn't take like 3 months. That takes a minute. So I agree with Kenny. It might be 4 to 6 months. She might possibly miss all out, right? She's just gunning for it, to be honest with you, to pick a specific date to return. But we all honestly know that's not going to be the specific date on when she will return. I'll be like this in terms of Britt Baker. Chill out. Just get the full duration of rest. Don't rush things. Because if you rush things, it gets worse. It's a wrap, right? Just chill out. Get your rest. Train when you come back, like obviously for your wrestling, and she'll be better. Just chill out, take your rest. I hope nothing but the best for Britt Baker.
And also one thing before you go, Rich, we all anticipate that when she comes back, like unless they sign somebody that's monumental, like a
Tessa Blanchard,
right? Like a Tessa Blanchard or anything. Like I don't anticipate they'll sign Tessa Blanchard. I mean,
yeah.
It'd be a miracle if they get her. But I can't say it's impossible. But
right,
like that's the only person that I can see unseating Britt Baker as the possible face of the division.
Right.
But like so my main point is we anticipate that when she comes back, her spot will still be there. Her spot will still be there, and she'll come back to her regular spot. So yeah, she definitely doesn't need to rush this. Rest up and hopefully she gets better.
Like for this injury, it's pretty much like I really hate when this happens, when like a star, face or heel, doesn't matter, when face or heel is on a big push, and next thing you know, an injury happens, and then shit hits the fan, which really, really sucks. Like all of this is pretty much bad timing, which pretty much explains it. Like bad timing at the fact that she got this injury. I hope that she heals very quickly. And I also agree with you guys with everything that you guys have said. But I want to ask one question. When she comes back in September, do you think actually no question, fuck that. I just answered my own question, never mind. Like the minute that she comes back, she has to become the next AEW Women's Champion. Because there's no way in hell that you built all this momentum up for her and she does not become champion. There's like
to be honest with you, it depends on what's going down in the AEW division. Hold on. No, hold up. We can't legitimately say that she has to be next in line. One, it depends on who's champion. That's number one. Number two, depending on how she is, will determine if she deserves that shot. And if so, then fine. But other than that, and remember, there's a ranking system. She can't just skyrocket to number one. She got to go through the ranks to earn that spot. And that's what
not necessarily.
Really? And he got a title shot.
Because Brian Cage, when he came back, he got the title shot. And remember, I brought this up last week when I said, "Hey, you tell me that wins and losses matter, right?" And you said yes, they matter. Okay, yeah. So why is Brian Cage getting the title shot? He's zero wins.
And to add to that, Brody Lee wasn't even in the ranking system to begin with, and he got a title shot in the last pay-per-view. So what is that for?
Okay.
Well, there you go.
But for Britt Baker, but like it depends on the situation. It really depends on the situation.
Well, I would like to think that these instances we brought up are the exceptions rather than the standards, because AEW does have to keep true to their word in order to stay unique and different compared to their competition, WWE, for instance. They're not having any ranking system or having the mentality of wins and losses meaning anything. AEW could buck the trend there by offering the wrestling landscape something to look forward to in that case. So yeah, but we'll see what's up with Britt Baker and what the fate of the women's division in AEW will be a few months by the time she comes back. We had Hikaru Shida, the new AEW Women's Champion, beats Nyla Rose for the belt at the pay-per-view event this past Saturday, last Saturday, I should say, against Christy James. Not much to say here. James didn't look too bad here. I just don't get why this had to be as competitive as it was. Hikaru should have definitely won this more decisively, I felt, but she did eventually win after hitting the Falcon Arrow. After that, we had Cody Rhodes, the new AEW TNT Champion, came out to cut a promo. He mentioned at one point that he does not think he is welcome back in Connecticut. A nice jab there towards WWE. During this entire promo, they would cut back to Brandy and Dustin Rhodes.
Wait, I'm sorry, Abba. I'm sorry I want to cut you off, but that was smooth on how he did that. Just to let you know, that was smooth. Keep going.
No, it was. But going back to what I was saying, during this entire promo, they would cut back to Brandy and Dustin Rhodes, who were behind the barricade watching on Cody, and alongside them was QT Marshall, who was talking nonstop to Allie, who had her hands all over him. I guess Marshall wasn't aware that Allie is married to the Blade, so he better watch his back. And apparently, Allie's no longer portraying the bunny gimmick anymore now. She's back to her regular old self. It's whatever.
But okay.
Yeah. Cody continued talking up his story over the course of the past 2 decades in his wrestling career, mentioned his mother, who he said taught him grit and hard work. He then laid out the challenge for anyone in the locker room, as he will be defending the TNT title every week moving forward. He then closed off by acknowledging the viewers watching at home that they invest 2 hours of their show weekly, and he wants to give us the very best that AEW has to offer.
Wait, Kenny, I want to ask Kenny's permission on this. Kenny,
Right, run it by him.
Yeah, I want to ask him a question. It's by permission. May I go first on this one? May I?
The king approves. You may proceed.
All right, man. AEW has to be careful based on what you said, it's making a point based on our last discussion. Brian Cage just got an AEW title shot, right? And before that, Brody Lee got an AEW title shot, and neither of them was on the rankings. Cody Rhodes, just based on what you just said, Abba, said that he's gonna defend the title each week, right? Yes. That shows to some degree that it's following WWE's format in terms of giving people chances and opportunities and shit. He is low-key dismissing the ranking system of what they're doing in AEW. And he has to be careful on that, because we have seen through past wrestling promotions from TNA, to some degree ACW, Ring of Honor, by giving people multiple chances, by copying WWE's format of giving wrestlers a chance to shine. AEW brought a ranking system similar to UFC to actually earn their spot. And right now, based on what you just said, Abba, that Cody Rhodes is defending the title every week, it's dismissing the ranking system. He has to be careful on that. So I would think that by doing that, he's dismissing the ranking system. But let's be real. I don't know. Me personally, as much as I don't have a problem with Cody Rhodes defending the title, you ain't John Cena, boy. You ain't John Cena in defending that title. But he has to be careful on that. That's all I got to say. And now, Kenny, do your thing.
You see, you brought up a lot of points I wanted to bring up. And that's good. That's good because now I don't have to do a lot of talking.
Takes the workload off the king, yeah.
Exactly. You know? I will say this, though. The idea that he wants to give, people title shots, that's all fine and dandy. But the reason why you have a ranking system is to prevent that sort of things from happening. It's a system based on merit. It's a meritocracy. AEW is a meritocracy, and what that means is, if you win, you make money, and you get title opportunities. If you lose, well, you don't get shit. That's the literal stripped down version of what it means when you have a ranking system. And you know, to piggyback off what Ricardo said, if you had a guy like what's his name, Jeff Hardy 2.0, damn, what's his name? What's
Darby
the guy
Allin?
that
Darby Allin?
Darby Allin. If you had Darby Allin at number 1 week, right, and Cody beats him, right, then he goes to number 2, and then there's a new number 1. And what that does is, right, you're literally recycling the whole ranking system of the TNT Championship, that every week Cody beats a new number 1 guy, right? There's a new number 1 guy every week, right? And what that means is he's going to run through the division. And in a ranking system, you cannot have that happen. Why? Because in a ranking system, you have feuds. You have feuds that last maybe 2, maybe a month to 2 weeks. I'm sorry, to 2 months, depending on how big the person is, right? So if Cody is running through the division every single week, you're gonna eventually put yourself into a corner, and that's my biggest problem with this. It's that he'll be resented at some point. Because we all anticipate he'll keep the title for a while, right? So if he keeps the title for a while, let's say he keeps the title for 6 months, bro, you ran through the whole division. You went through the whole division in fucking 3 months. What about the other 3 months? What are you gonna do then?
We will look at the TNT Championship similar to how WWE views the Intercontinental Championship today, and that's a problem.
It is.
It's just not logical to have your title defended every week based on a ranking system. I just don't see how long term. I don't see how that works.
Exactly.
You can't sustain the churning out new number 1 contenders every single week and then beating them, right? You would have gone through the whole division in less than 3 months.
Exactly, and we're going to get into the battle royal that took place to crown the first, who's getting first crack at Cody's TNT title next week, but in a little bit. But I think it's worth mentioning now that it doesn't bode well. It's looking at the talent that we saw in that battle royal.
You see,
Like,
that makes it even worse. The battle royal.
Yeah.
Look. I will say this: the only way this works, right, is if you don't have a ranking system for the TNT title.
They
don't have a ranking system.
They don't.
Right? Hold up. You don't know that. You don't know that.
Because Cody
hasn't been unofficial.
Cody said himself, the TNT title will not have a ranking system. He said that himself.
He said that himself.
Right. Okay.
He actually said that.
Cool.
Right.
He said that.
Wait.
Yeah.
When
He
did
said it in
say
an interview. He said it in an interview the week before Double or Nothing, talking about the TNT Championship, saying how the TNT Championship does not have a ranking system.
No, right. But I mean, doesn't mean it would never have a ranking system. It just means at that point, it doesn't have a ranking system because there hasn't been a crown champion.
Yeah. And besides, if he were to say that has a ranking system, he could say the same shit about the world title.
No, because that's already been established, Ricardo. That's already been established.
No, I know. I'm just saying, but like,
it's just to me personally, having a ranking system wherever it fits you doesn't really.
You either got to go all. You either got to be all in it or not at all.
Exactly.
For this to work.
Like why? What makes the TNT title so special that you can't have a ranking system? You know what I mean? Like why would you do that? It makes absolutely no sense.
I mean, I guess they could argue that it's you need an establishing period, a period of time to like really hype up the belt and make it seem like a big deal and have it accustomed, I should say. But exactly,
that's horseshit.
It's horseshit.
The ranking system for
every other title got a ranking system from the get-go.
Immediately, yeah, exactly, and you can't slither your way through that and make that assumption if if you've been doing it for the other titles. So, but like I said, the only way it works is if you don't have a ranking system.
Exactly.
That's the only way it works, because then you can kind of pick and choose who your next opponent is going to be, and not have to run through the whole division or the mid-card division just to do it.
Yeah. We had Kip Sabian and Jimmy Havoc against Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky. The winners will face Omega and Hangman Page on next week's Dynamite show for the AEW Tag Team titles. The match was okay. Action was solid, but I can't say I'm too invested in either of these teams at the moment. The only person that honestly had my interest was Penelope Ford, who did help out Sabian and Havoc after pulling Kazarian out of the ring, and Havoc nails his finish for the win, and they will face Omega and Hangman next week for the tag titles. It was whatever.
Wait, hold up. The SCU was facing Omega and
no, SCU was facing Kip Sabian and Jimmy Havoc.
Okay, and who's facing Omega and
next week? It'll be Sabian and Havoc.
Sabian. Why?
I have no idea, honestly.
Bro, this doesn't make any sense to me, man. Seriously. You tell me you have a ranking system, and then you put somebody that's not even a legitimate team, technically, right, against a legit tag team title holders for the tag titles. Like, what?
This makes me and Kenny's point about how crucial the ranking system is in AEW, and this is what I said before about wrestling promotions copying WWE's format, because it's slowly diminishing the value of a particular title. Like, we brought up a no-name team is facing an elite team in Page and Omega, right? If it was SCU, understandable, no debate there. But a team
for the tag titles, though.
Exactly.
Like that. They really rise up the tag team rankings.
If you're telling me, okay, all right, listen, we need Omega and a Page to have a warm-up match because they haven't been tag teaming for a while. I got you.
Yeah.
But put them against if you're gonna make it a title match, put it up against somebody, a team that's actually a team. Oh, right. I don't know. The number one contenders in the Best Friends, because they've been tearing it up for quite a while now.
Well, yeah, but they did. Best Friends are the number one contenders, but they'll be getting a title shot at Fyter Fest.
Well, with all due respect, Abba, they are not the number one contender. Okay, the number one contender would happen to be Kip Sabian and Jimmy Havoc.
Yeah, apparently so. I was confused why they even had the match to begin with. Just besides having a tune-up match.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah, and I'm shitting on this match. I'm shitting on this one.
It's a warm-up match.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But you can't even call it a warm-up match because it's a title match. It's a title match.
Exactly.
It's
a warm-up match with stakes on the line.
Matches. Right. Warm-up matches will be like, okay, all right, next week Kip Sabian and Jimmy Havoc versus the tag team champions in a non-title match. That's a warm-up match.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me, man. It's a stupid idea. AEW is stupid for that. Plain and simple. Can't explain it.
Yeah. After that, we had the Battle Royal to earn a shot at the TNT Championship next week, who will be facing Cody. What I mentioned before when we were talking about that Cody promo, that there may not be enough credible talent to do a weekly open challenge and keep it interesting for a while, this Battle Royal confirmed that, as I alluded to earlier. This consisted mostly of people who are regulars in Dark, their YouTube show, their secondary show that they have on YouTube. I mean, Brandon Cutler, Sonny Kiss, Peter Avalon. Not really credible talent right there. Just skipping ahead here towards the end, it was Jungle Boy, MJF, Wardlow, Billy Gunn, Luchasaurus, Marco Stunt, and Orange Cassidy. Freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. Stunt got thrown out by Wardlow. Luchasaurus got eliminated alongside Billy Gunn. Wardlow was holding down Orange Cassidy for MJF to nail him wearing his ring, but Cassidy sidestepped and he hits Wardlow instead. MJF gets thrown out by Jungle Boy, who also eliminates Wardlow with the help of Orange Cassidy. Came down to these two, and they had a bit of a back and forth before Jungle Boy ultimately eliminates Cassidy with a Hurricane Rana that sends him outside and wins the match. Jungle Boy will be Cody's first challenger at the AEW TNT title next week. I've always liked Jungle Boy's work. I expect a pretty good match between these two. Battle Royal itself was pretty ho-hum. There wasn't enough talent to keep me interested in that.
No, yeah, I mean, MJF was definitely not going to win, and that's exactly why I wasn't interested. And why should he? Why should he? He's gunning for the biggest prize in wrestling right now.
Maybe for the best.
So I honestly think they put him there just to make it interesting, and just to let people tune in. But outside of that, I wasn't really interested in any of this. Good luck to Jungle Boy. He's going to be the first sacrificial lamb for Cody, and yeah, there's really nothing more you can say about that.
Yep.
And in the main event, we had the Inner Circle Pep Rally. They had cheerleaders dance to the Inner Circle's entrance to the stage, hyping them up with Vicky Guerrero, of all people, joining in on the cheerleaders. Yes, Vicky Guerrero. That was something. Each member came out fresh off their loss in the Stadium Stampede match last weekend, which was excellent, by the way. They awarded each other various gifts. Sammy Guevara handed out participation trophies. Santana gave Chris Jericho a framed picture of Mark Anthony, which he was beyond happy to receive. I don't know, I'd probably be tossing that in the garbage, but, to each their own. We had Jake Hager read a long-winded promo showcasing his aggression. After that, Sammy told Jericho that this was great and all, the presence and everything, but then asked, what did Jericho want? Jericho replied by saying that what he really wants is Mike Tyson's head on a platter. And he hasn't forgotten what Tyson did to him on January 11th, 2010 on a Monday night, again alluding to WWE. Tyson came out, but not without an entourage of MMA fighters accompanying him, including names like Vitor Belfort, Henry Cejudo, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and Rashad Evans. They came into the ring. Jericho demands an apology from Tyson for knocking him out 10 years ago. Tyson just got closer to Jericho as he was mouthing off on him, and proceeded to fail at ripping his shirt off. That was the big awkward part of this entire segment. They got into a shoving match, and a huge brawl between everyone in the ring ensued. The locker room ran down to hold Jericho and Tyson apart, and that is how the show went off the air this week. Wasn't a perfect segment, but I thought the execution was done well enough. Inner Circle played their part well in the actual pep rally, being their usual charismatic selves. And they wanted to have their own Tyson Austin segment from the Attitude Era. I'm trying to rack my brain on what they plan to book out of this. Tyson in a match with Jericho, possibly. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, this segment, for what it was okay. I guess it wasn't perfect, just like you said. My only okay, I'm gonna stop being nice. My favorite part of this segment was the ending. I'm just gonna say that and let that sink in.
Yeah. This I didn't really, to be honest with you, I didn't really like what happened because it was, I'm not gonna lie, it's embarrassing. Like, it's embarrassing. You got, just like what Abba said, try to low-key replicate between like a Tyson and Austin feud at the time. I'm like, the difference between that and what happened the other day, I was like, both niggas in Austin and Tyson were in their prime. Both of them. We got two niggas in Jericho and Tyson who was beyond their prime, right? That's the complete difference of how the segment was. And like, me personally, I didn't see really a point of Tyson being there in the first place, because like, I thought, to me, and I think to all of us, Tyson was just going to be there just to present the title and, just move on. Yep. Right? But they included Tyson into an AE Dynamite show and try to make low-key a feud, in quotation marks, with Jericho. I'm like, bro, this ain't really like all that serious.
Not a good idea, man.
It's not even a good idea. And you know what's crazy? the past 3 discussions that we just had, including this one, Cody Rhodes defending title each week, and shit about Brian Cage makes my point about WWE bringing shit from WWE and bringing it to their own brand. Jericho brought up a segment that would happen over a decade ago on Monday Night Raw to make it view as a shot to WWE, but technically he copied what WWE did and brought it to AEW to make it promote AEW as a shot to WWE.
They pulled
You don't do that.
They pulled a TNA because TNA did the exact same thing back then. That's what they did.
There you go.
They pulled a TNA.
It ain't smart.
Yep, TNA was great those first few years until they decided to become WWE-lite.
And that's what diminished the segment right there. Just what made Kenny's point about the best point of that segment was the ending. The show ending right there.
That whole thing, honestly, was a hot-ass mess. Like,
yeah.
Seriously. When I was watching it, was it entertaining? Yes, but as you really think about it, I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? And shit. Like, you had Chris Jericho and the Inner Circle and his crew, Mike Tyson and his crew and stuff like that. A brawl ensues, and I'm like, did they really pull an Austin and a Tyson back then? JR is commentating, stuff like that. I'm like, what are you guys doing? And the end result is that there's going to be a legit match between Jericho and Tyson. I'm like,
Possibly.
I'm like, come on. Like, Jericho and Tyson is well past their prime, just like what Ricardo said. Like, I don't know what they're going to do to make the fans become interested in this match. I'm like, yo. I would not expect AEW to do this, especially the fact that they should know better.
They wanted to capitalize on the fact that Mike Tyson's getting all this press again, and he's at his most relevant in what feels like forever now. Now that he's getting back into in-ring shape for a potential boxing match.
That's what I was gonna say. A good capitalizer.
Who finally joined us?
I mean, no, I was listening to everything you guys are saying. I just didn't have an input because I agreed. No, I agree. I was going to say that, actually. It's only because it's press, regardless of what you want to say. AEW is a new show, and you have freaking Mike Tyson on it, and he's right now what's hot. So what do you do when you want people who don't know wrestling at all to watch something? You have someone like Mike Tyson. It doesn't matter what feud is there. People are going to watch because of Mike Tyson. They'll need to know what else is going on. They're going to watch it. They're going to tune in just to see what Mike Tyson is. It could be like, but what storyline is there to give him? There is like literally no other storyline. What the hell is Mike Tyson even doing there? Like, even from the jump, what was Mike Tyson doing handing off the freaking championship? Like, did that make sense? Like, he needs reason, like, to be there and have something. I mean, I think it's kind of lazy planning to have, like, a WWE reference. Like, sometimes it's funny when they make the WWE reference, but to, like, you know, keep doing it is kind of, like, poor planning. But I feel like it's just great to kind of come in now and monetize off of that fame and try to get people to watch it. But end rant.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Definitely agree with that. Like, they definitely want to capitalize on the buzz that Mike Tyson has been receiving, the most he has in a long last while now. Now, the progression of this, we'll see. Will it lead to a match between him and Jericho along an angle that is a match that is disguised, I should say an angle disguised as a match, as we've seen before with celebrities and wrestlers? We'll see. Who knows? Now, switching gears to NXT from this past week. We had Johnny Gargano coming out with Candice LeRae for his match, which he dubbed the Johnny Gargano Invitational. And he said that a young superstar will have the honor of stepping in the ring with himself. Candice reveals who this person will be via her cue card that she was holding in her hand, Adrian Alinus, a play off the name Adrian Adonis, a wrestler from the 80s. Gargano made short work of Alinus, caught him with a super kick, locked in the Gargano escape for the tap out. After the match, we see on the Titantron Keith Lee and Mia Yim sitting at their dining room table. parodying these dinner with the Gargano segments we've been seeing over the past few weeks now with Johnny and Candice. Mia grabbed the flashlight, pointed it to her face, and mocked Candice for a lack of any real accomplishments during her time in NXT, which, sad to say, she does have a point.
Well, what the hell has Mia Yim accomplished?
Exactly. I was thinking the exact same thing.
Right.
Yeah, but Lee was confused as to what she was doing, and Yim convinced him to try it out, to which he does, and he mocks Gargano for getting title opportunities that he should not have gotten over the years. Tegan Knox was a part of the segment, playing the role of a delivery person from Gargano's Pizza, which I thought was stupid, and brought them one slice of pizza. They then made a promise to Gargano and LeRae that they will get retribution for calling them out to begin with. Listen, I'm looking forward to the match. Gargano and Keith Lee at TakeOver will be an excellent, excellent match. That being said, the way they're approaching this match, I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, so many logic gaps in that segment. I just don't know what the fuck is going on. I'm disinterested. I'm not surprised. But I never actually thought that I'd see the day that NXT would become main roster like. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, am I surprised that it happened? No, because they moved to 2 hours and they're on national television now. But damn, does it suck to just see NXT in that light, man. Like it almost throws away the previous 7 years of greatness that they've accomplished, you know, and I can't unsee that, man. Like that's just like, what have you accomplished when you yourself haven't accomplished anything? Really? Who the fuck is writing this shit? Who? Go on.
Yeah. Ava, you said that it's going to be an excellent match when it hits TakeOver. I disagree.
Really?
The build to this match is not worth watching. To have an excellent match, you have to have a build that's worth watching and make it more noticeable for us viewers to make it view it as excellent. It's not excellent. The build is trash.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there, man. I see you, man. He says, let me just validate what you just said. He just basically said the build is part of what makes an excellent match. If you don't give a shit about, you know, the match coming into the match, which is the build, right? I mean, chances are
excellent.
The match might be great, but guess what? You won't give a shit about it being great.
Exactly. And you just said yourself, between Mia Yim and Keith Lee, he actually had low-key, like, their promo wasn't good, if you really think about it. Because these two, in terms of Mia Yim and Keith Lee, they're not good talkers. They're not even good talkers. Gargano is actually a good talker. And Candice LeRae is decent enough to be all right. But in terms of Mia Yim and Keith Lee, it wasn't even worth watching in terms of that promo towards Gargano and Candice LeRae. So that promo was trash. The build was trash. And the match might also potentially be trash. Now, to me, I hope I'm wrong because I like Gargano and Lee. I like both of them, right? I just hope I'm wrong that the match isn't trash.
You're definitely wrong. The match ain't gonna be trash. This is two of the best athletes we've ever seen.
No.
You're dead wrong on that one. Like I can shut that shit down very easily. Match ain't gonna be trash.
Yeah, the match is not going to be trash, especially the fact when it comes to Gargano and Lee, you know that these two could work really, really well in the ring. I didn't say together, but really well in the ring. Period. Especially at a TakeOver. Like, come on. Like, you're underestimating the match itself way more than the build. Yes, the build's been trash, but we all know that the match is not going to be trash.
I just want to put out there, I knew that NXT was going to be main roster-esque because you want to know why? First sign was Charlotte Flair, There is no way Vince is just handing off one of his best freaking wrestlers to NXT like that. There's just no way. I knew it was gonna come with some strings attached. There is absolutely no way you are giving your best wrestler down to NXT just because it needs help. The only reason why it needs any kind of help is because it needs to be like the rest of the damn shows. I knew it was gonna happen. It was like, why? Like, you would not have this interchange swap just because you need. I knew it was headed somewhere. Like, it comes with some ropes. Like, it's not just gonna be like, okay, here you go. That's it. Come on, this is WWE.
Well, you're wrong. The reason why the show is kind of shit now ain't because of Charlotte Flair. No, it's because there's 2 hours.
I didn't say it's because of Charlotte Flair. I
week.
said
I know.
You
said the trade off and the thing. Yeah.
The main roster, like I'm saying that it wasn't gonna come with no strings attached.
But it didn't. It didn't come with Charlotte Flair coming to NXT. Didn't come with strings attached. Let's get something straight. Charlotte Flair is still at the very big, I know that's not what you're getting at, but it's not. It didn't come as a sacrifice for good storylines. I think that just had to do with the layout of the show. For instance, you have a 2-hour showdown, and not only do you have a 2-hour show, you don't have the luxury of taping 1 month of TV time and then taking the rest of the month off. You don't have that luxury anymore. So now, guess what? You're in there every week for 2 hours, right? And you have to actually write shit. So you need more writing staff. And what do you think they're going to get more writing staff? From the main roster.
Yeah.
That's who is writing their shit. That's why the product is it's lackluster now compared to where it once was. Because now you have an hour of TV time to fill, right? And you're doing it with guys that were on the main roster. That's why. I mean, Triple H is still in charge, but you can't account for every single part of 2 hours that they're on, that they're on national TV, plus having to deal with NXT overseas. Yeah, that's a lot of work for Triple H to have to overcome. It was a lot easier when he was writing 1-hour shows, and then shooting TV, a month's work of TV, and then doing that. But now it's a totally different ballgame, and I think it hurts. It definitely hurts their product. But I don't think Charlotte Flair has anything to do with that.
No. That is not the point that I'm making. I am saying basically, okay, it's now a 2-hour show that's nationally televised as opposed to the 1 hour, which was basically broadcasted with WWE, right?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is Vince is not going to give Charlotte Flair to NXT unless there is something involved. And that something is NXT is now televised. It's 2 hours. What are you going to do to bring more fame to that show for viewers to watch? You're going to put your best wrestlers there. You're going to put some big names to draw eyes. That's why Charlotte Flair literally works all 3 shows, is because she's the only relevant person to bring eyes to all 3 shows. On top of that, what I'm saying is you're not going to bring someone down there unless it's going to be something cushy. And I feel like in order to do that, they kind of made it semi-like, I feel like the point of it was to kind of like bring in that kind of main roster feel to NXT, only because it is now a televised thing. At the end of the day, it's still about ratings, and that's what they still think gives them ratings, is their current format.
I mean, yeah, I get why you bring Charlotte to NXT, but I still don't understand your point of where NXT gets less like it gets way less better in terms of quality, and how Vince bringing somebody like that high caliber talent to NXT, and then having, like, I don't see the correlation in that.
Yeah, me
you get what I just don't see, like the correlation that I think why NXT has been has been lessened in terms of quality. It's just a 2-hour time, and the acquisition of all of those writers that would come in and
And
dilute
the lack of
product.
wrestlers they have.
I'm saying that it's lessened
Maybe.
because they're trying to make it like the main roster. It has nothing to do with the talent. I'm saying that the talent was just a sign that they were going to pull it towards that direction, because he is not going to be handing off his best talent just like that.
Well,
That
no
is the
offense, but
correlation I'm saying.
no offense, but he ended off, Finn Balor without any care in the world. So to me personally, when Finn Balor was there, the product was still great. Product was still fantastic. It was.
You could say that for a lot of people, not only Balor, but Owens, Zayn, the list goes on back then.
Right.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, like, the difference of Charlotte is that Charlotte was actually someone, she's, literally, out of their whole entire females roster on the women's roster and the main roster, wouldn't you say that Charlotte is literally the best?
Yeah. Bar none.
Who are you going to give up? Who else are you going to give up? Who else is going to have any kind of impact on NXT?
Yeah. I definitely get seeing more eyes.
But you're not
Charlotte
going to
brings more
bring
eyes,
Charlotte
definitely.
Flair. Honestly, at the end of the day, NXT is still it's still it's supposed to be the developmental big before you go into the main roster. The main roster is still supposed to be the greatest thing. So what I'm saying is there is no way that Vince is going to hand off his best female wrestler just to NXT just like that, unless it's headed towards a direction of where it's going to be main roster anything. And it is, because now the only difference is that their talent has somewhat of I feel like their wrestlers are a little bit more talented in that aspect. As far as the women's division, I feel like the men's they kind of have notoriety because of what Triple H has done for them. But now I feel that because it's going on to be televised, Vince is kind of taking more of a hand, because now it's oh shit, this can also be potentially something that's money grabbing. And let's be real, anything that's televised like that, Vince is going to have a hand in it. And that's why I'm saying,
look,
how he's going to just hand off Charlotte Flair.
I can sit here and talk about this for hours, but Abba, we're gonna wrap this up. Go ahead.
All right. Cool. And speaking of the Queen Charlotte Flair, up next was Rhea Ripley and Io Shirai teaming up against Charlotte Flair and Chelsea Green in a tag team match. I thought this was Chelsea's best performance that I've seen from her as a performer up to this point, honestly. She had some time to shine here. Rhea was fired up after getting the hot tag. Io broke up the figure 8 attempt from Charlotte, hits the Tiger Fake kick on Flair, hits the springboard dropkick to Green, who took the move for Charlotte, and Shirai inadvertently knocks her partner Ripley off the apron, and Charlotte rolled up Io and using the ropes as leverage and got the win. It was a way to build up to their triple threat at TakeOver in your house next week. And, it was pretty straightforward stuff.
Kenny, you want me to say something, or you good? All right. This match proved nothing to elevate their match towards each other in NXT TakeOver. Charlotte carried Chelsea Green. Don't care what anybody says. Charlotte carried Chelsea Green for the W to make them win. Nothing really happened between Io, Rhea, and Charlotte in that match. It was just a straight-up match that Charlotte carried for Chelsea Green. Nothing really happened. Nothing really truly elevated towards their match to NXT TakeOver. Nothing. It was pretty much like that. Straightforward. Match ended. Charlotte's team win. Charlotte Green goes. Is whatever.
Yeah, after that, they showed us a Zoom call between NXT GM William Regal and the NXT champion Adam Cole. Cole requested a few things here, including that Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish get another shot at the NXT tag team titles, as they didn't properly receive one last time. And also that Velveteen Dream does not get another shot at his NXT championship. Regal wasn't fond, of course, of Cole demanding things from him, so he let Adam know that and announced that Dream will indeed get another match against Cole at NXT TakeOver in your house next weekend. Cole laid out the caveat that if he beats Velveteen Dream in that match, he will never get another title shot as long as he is still the champion. And Regal actually agreed to that, but also laid out his own caveat that their match will take place at a setting of Regal's choosing, to which Cole agreed on, and that was the end of the segment. My first thought when this segment ended was that their match at TakeOver will most definitely be of a cinematic style, as that has been a common trend that we have seen WWE applying to a handful of their matches ever since WrestleMania. I want to see where they go with this and how they approach the match, but I've kind of had my fill with these cinematic style matches for, honestly, a good while.
Yep, you can miss me with that bullshit too. I'm not interested. I'm done talking. Go ahead.
Like it's a match that doesn't need to be cinematic. I don't understand that or why it needs to be cinematic and shit like that. There's no point.
I guess just to add another layer to the overall rivalry.
Why?
I got no answers. I got no answers, guys.
Are there layers to be added? Like, do we have enough information to add another layer? Like,
Not
what
really.
is it? Is there bad blood between these two? Am I missing something?
Exactly. This ain't like Gargano and Ciampa. That's different because that has layers to it. There's history to it.
That's
Like,
years
exactly,
of build.
years to it. But in terms of like Gargano, I keep saying Gargano. In terms of Cole and Dream, there's no layers to it. The NXT title match between these two has been flustered out. It's been flushed down the toilet, and it's been growing little of interest. Arguably to no interest at all anymore, because of the whole quarantine epidemic and because of Adam Cole and Dream due to their lack of participation of it towards this match. It's lackluster. Does not need to be a cinematic feel to it to be for the title match for itself. It's upsetting that it's gotten to this point because this match is long overdue and Dream should have been already champion.
I don't think so. I don't think so. He never had the momentum on his side.
Oh, okay. You know what? I'll take that back.
That and the timing was never right. It was never his proper time to be the title holder. It was always someone else's time, like a Ciampa.
Right. Exactly. So like it's too little too late. It's whatever. And for TakeOver, like we said on our last week episode, it doesn't deserve to be the main event of the show when TakeOver comes around. It don't deserve it. And that's upsetting because we all like for an NXT world title to end the show.
That's true, but
unfortunately, it's not going to happen.
Like that, exactly, because the feud that's been going on between Cole and Dream is going on for way too long, which is why I said, like, this match should not, like, we all agree. To me, Charlotte, Io, and Rhea, they should main event the show because that has layers. It's been building up for weeks and weeks and weeks. For Adam Cole and Dream, it's been fleshed out. So I definitely agree with you guys in that point, 100%. And plus another thing, like let's say Adam Cole retains. What is Dream gonna do next? We don't know. So it's like he's already hit a year, which is gonna be this Sunday, tomorrow actually. Is it tomorrow? Yes, tomorrow or Monday. So it's like it is what it is. Like on to the next one.
Yeah, it is what it is. You know, they didn't have proper time to really move on from this feud and pit Cole against somebody else in time for TakeOver. So I guess they just wanted to go back down the well for this and just continue on with it. And they felt they had to put another element to it, so to speak, with the whole cinematic style. The finals of the NXT Cruiserweight title tournament will take place next week on NXT instead of at the TakeOver show, which is probably for the best. Pitting Phantasma against Drake Maverick, who advanced to this point after winning a three-way earlier in the show against Kushida and Jake Atlas. Also announced for next week is Mia Yim against Candice LeRae. In the main event, we had Matt Riddle against Timothy Thatcher in a cage match with Kurt Angle as the guest referee. Only way to win was by knockout or... I'm just looking at Kenny's frustration right now. What's up, buddy? Yeah, no, just...
Let me say this. There are things that are not worthy to discuss in that shit's going down right now. That cage match, I could give two shits about that match. It's unnecessary. We specifically said, Abba, 2 weeks ago, in fact, that we don't give a shit about the cruiserweight division right now. We said that 2 weeks ago, and you brought it up again.
Okay, I'm only bringing it up because I actually did enjoy the match.
That's you. That's you. And I respect that. But nobody cares about the cruiserweight division. And I feel you. But
this ain't the cruiserweight division. This is Riddle and Thatcher.
He said the main.
Whatever. No, you brought up the cruiserweights. You brought up the cruiserweights.
Hold on. Time out. What's happening next week? I didn't really go over anything.
Time out. Yeah. See, the only thing I had a problem with was you bringing up the thing, Timothy Thatcher and oh God. I mean, could we give less of a fuck? Like, really? Thatcher?
Listen, I wanted to go over it because I thought it was something worth noting because it was a pretty good match. I enjoyed it, what they did here.
I'm sure it was a great match. You know why? Because it had Matt Riddle in it. But how does this tie into the long-term feud of anything that goes on in NXT? If I can remember correctly, Matt Riddle is actually going to SmackDown, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we were actually going to touch on that in a bit.
He ain't on NXT anymore. So whatever his feud is with Thatcher ended that night.
Okay, fine. We don't have to go over it if you guys don't want to.
Screw Thatcher, whatever the hell his name is.
But I would say, like, they built him up. They built him up pretty nicely. Thatcher beat
Did he
Riddle.
lose? Oh, he beat Riddle.
Yeah,
he beat Riddle.
Okay, great. So they sent Riddle out with the loss.
They sent the
nice big win for him.
Even better.
Yeah. Yeah, but we already mentioned Matt Riddle. He's going to be moving to SmackDown. They announced that as of last night during SmackDown. Showed some vignettes, some promos for him, hyping up his demotion. Yeah, exactly.
It's a demotion if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, pretty much. But we'll see if, as we've seen from as recent history has shown us over the years, WWE's track record with handling NXT talent is not really good at all. And Riddle will just be a part of that. Okay, so let's talk about this. Seth Rollins was a guest on Corey Graves' After the Bell podcast, and he had some things to say about The Undertaker, in particular, the Deadman gimmick. Rollins stated why he believes the Deadman gimmick would not work if he were to debut in today's wrestling landscape. He kept bringing up The Last Ride, the docuseries that is currently ongoing on the WWE Network that gives us a behind-the-scenes look at Mark Calloway, and explained that if kids were to see the documentary, it would ruin everything, and the mystique would no longer be there around The Undertaker. Now, listening to what Seth had to say about the matter had me thinking about it, and I figured we can discuss our takes on that interesting topic. Would The Undertaker's Deadman gimmick work today the way it did when he debuted back in 1990?
Let me.
The floor is whoever wants to go first.
Well, not whoever wants to. Abba, don't play.
I'm sorry. Okay,
all right?
I'm sorry.
All right.
I got ahead of myself there.
Yes, you did.
King, the floor is yours.
All right. With all due respect to The Undertaker, let me just preface my comments by saying The Undertaker is the most iconic character we have ever seen. With that said, I think Seth Rollins is up onto something here. You know, when we first saw the Deadman back debuting back in what was it, 1990?
1990, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. See, I wasn't even born yet. So like but I know if I was a little kid back then, I'd be scared shitless. I'd probably shit my pants the first time I saw The Undertaker, because when he rolled his eyes back and everything, like all that shit, legitimately got kids scared, right? But now, when it's the cool thing not to see scary movies, and scary movies are not as scary as they used to be anymore. And people don't really scare easy, that much, at least kids in general. Suffice it to say that the gimmick would have a really hard time getting over in today's wrestling world. just because I mean we've seen a lot more scarier shit in the wrestling community. So I think in order for you to even get people to give a shit about it even more, it literally have to be something like The Fiend. You know what I mean? Like The Fiend really got people shook because, you know, we ain't never seen anything like that before. And The Fiend was 10 times scarier when he first came out than The Undertaker was in 1990, with all due respect, because of the special effects and all the things that you can do to alter your character's look. But yeah, Taker's just an iconic character now. But if you would tell me that, you know, a character like The Undertaker would debut today, I don't think it would get over with the fans.
I agree with Seth Rollins. Because like he's pretty much saying that like with the Deadman persona, it's not gonna work as it worked back in the day with the new generation. Since he put out the last ride, since he brought it up in the discussion with Corey Graves, he's pretty much saying by doing that, it diminished your character as the Deadman entirely for this generation. It's over. So he's pretty much telling Taker like, yo, you have to adapt. If you want to still stick around, you gotta have to adapt and change your gimmick to some degree. Just like what Kenny said about when Bray Wyatt turned to the Fiend. Same thing. Bray Wyatt adapted to his persona and changed his whole gimmick to the Fiend, similar to like a Joker type atmosphere, like, you know, similar to like the Joker, right? Taker has to do the same thing, right? If Taker continues to show the more human side of himself throughout the years to come, since he signed that ridiculous 15-year extension in the WWE, the character of the Deadman is extinguished. It's gone. He has to change his whole persona in WWE to make him, since he says he wants to stay longer, right? So I agree with Seth Rollins that it's not going to work anymore in this generation, and he would have to change his whole persona. Other than that, if he doesn't, people will stop looking at Taker as he is, and he'll just look like an old man just trying to fit into this generation.
I mean, he kind of came back as the American Badass last WrestleMania, so that kind of, I think that kind of solidifies, you know, Taker being the Deadman. Like he's no longer that anymore. So
right, but if he comes back and it goes right back to the Deadman, then it's like
right. No, I agree. Like you can't.
Yeah.
That's something that you can't really get over nowadays. I mean, it's still cool because, you know, it's such an iconic character, but
right,
you know,
something a lot of us grew up with.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, so people look at it as just timeless. If they grew up as kids and to adults watching the Undertaker Deadman gimmick do his thing, all these great moments he's had, all these matches.
Yeah,
but,
like
yeah.
I'm sorry, like if he does the same shit like he brought against AJ Styles, like the American Badass gimmick, I'm like, okay, you like adapted that. The American Badass gimmick, it's better, and Taker could use this to his advantage because this generation don't know the American Badass. You feel me?
Well.
No,
let me stop you. No, who cares about this? Well, okay, maybe I can't say who cares about this generation, but with because the American Badass, right? It can work in any era, right? It's probably the most personable Undertaker that there is, right? So that alone will transcend time, I think. But in regards to his other gimmicks, it's not going to work the same way, no.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, it's in my opinion, it's the American Badass gimmick that he brought back at WrestleMania this year against Styles it's a lot more timeless, I should say. It's less dated because it's like Kenny said, it transcends time. Like it's him at his most personal. So he's able to show off his real promo skills. He's able to show off like the real emotions and with whatever he's got going on, it gives him the platform to do that. Unlike if you were to still be continuing on the Deadman gimmick. But tackling on what Rollins had to say and whether or not I agree, I definitely agree, 100% with his comments, as well as what you guys said. That the gimmick would not go all that well today. Like, you had exceptions, and Seth even pointed this out on the podcast with Corey, that the Fiend character that Bray Wyatt the persona that he introduced last year, it was kind of an exception because he was able to avoid social media as best as he could, even though not so much right now because he's posting stuff left and right, it feels like, on his personal life. And that's just something to keep something to consider, I should say, because social media happens to be the big major roadblock into pulling back the curtains on these wrestlers' personal lives. And kayfabe is just deader than dead right now. So the fact that Bray Wyatt was able to do such a thing, at least for a short amount of time at the beginning there, last year when he introduced the Fiend character, unprecedented. Honestly, we were shocked by how great he was at that.
It's an anomaly, and things like that don't happen. A dead clock is right twice a day. Okay,
exactly.
That's pretty much what happened with Bray Wyatt's gimmick, and he got away with it. Man.
Well, for my opinion, as far as this, I feel like, I've always personally felt like with the Undertaker's thing, like, as far as that scary value, it doesn't bring that. But, I mean, I feel like it does kind of like, his gimmick can bring in a certain kind of group, because I personally felt like, what's his name? Aleister Black was supposed to be, like, Undertaker's predecessor. And I've said this, like, many times on the show. And I feel like that gimmick is very similar to what the Undertaker is, but it's like a modern day take of that. And that works perfectly well because of how it's carried out and because of like the kind of mystique that it brings to it. But it's not like, obviously when you think of Aleister Black, like, you don't think scary, but you're intrigued. But he also brings a lot more to it than what Undertaker does, I guess. But yeah, I guess as far as what his gimmick was intended to do, which was more so like be scary, no, it would not be able to do that in today's world.
Yeah, we're intrigued when done right and effectively.
Absolutely.
No one else, that's everyone's take on it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that was more straightforward than than I thought it would be. Okay, but if that's the case, that'll do it for episode 20 of Wrestling Hypothesis. Thank you to everyone who checked out this week's show. As always, that was a very, like I said, very straightforward kind of discussion we had, tackling the Undertaker's
shout out.
What happened?
I want to do a shout out to my boy Evan's podcast, Ball In. So, like, y'all could catch up with him on NBA takes on him, going over the recent news in the NBA basketball or what's going down. Follow him at November's Greatest on IG. Hopefully, Kenny, you should look that into it because it's really good for different perspectives of basketball. I think you would like it a lot. So, shout out to my boy Evan's podcast, Ball In.
Yep, co-signed by me, as I did check them out the other day, saw their work, heard their work, I should say, and they did a pretty damn good job. Ricardo, he added a lot to it. He's part of that show as well, at least that one particular episode. So definitely check it out. It's called Ball In Podcast. But we'll be back next week with episode 21 of the show. That'll be the prediction show for NXT Takeover in your house. So something to look forward to for you listeners. Until then, have a good one, guys.
Take care.